Hello and welcome to this edition of A Conversation With. I'm Jim Marshall of the New Bedford Cable Network, and in studio today we have someone who I've roped into the program today. Chris Donnelly is with us. He is a social studies teacher at Normandin Middle School, but he is an Irish native, from a native of Ireland, and member of the Friendly Sons. And I thought at this time of year it'd be interesting to talk to somebody about this relationship between Ireland and America, because I know at this time of year everybody's Irish.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see that there is that relationship between the cultures that, you know, is amazing, really. Thanks for coming in, though.
No problem. You're welcome. I think it is very deep with that. Irish people have always looked up to America. Oh, it's like a big brother. We always had, I told you, JFK picture in our home beside the Pope. And we know the politics in America. We watched it. We kept up to date with it. But everybody has a cousin here, or 5 cousins here.
5 cousins, yeah.
You know, and it's and even me. I have so many people call me, so they want to come over for a visit. So it's deep, and they love America. And I always tell people, they ever go back and they say, oh, would they like Americans? I said, yes, they love them because they all have somebody here, and this is a great country, and we're very lucky to have someone on our side. It's such a big country.
And your perspective is so unique because you grew up in Ireland, in Derry.
Yeah.
And you've lived here, as you said to me off camera, you've lived here over half your life. So your perspective is, you know both.
I know, and I said sometimes when I'm in Ireland, this is my home, and when I'm here, sometimes I say, well, you're going home, Ireland's my home. So it's funny. I have 2 homes, which I love both of them. I mean, I wouldn't swap my life at all. I mean, I love this country more, or I wouldn't be here. You know, that's amazing. But I do love Ireland. I love Irish people. I love Irish culture and the way it's family oriented, and how they love their culture. It's like the Portuguese people. They just love everything they do. They want to keep it deep, and we don't want to lose our culture. You know,
and you have siblings over there too, as you said.
Yeah,
all your siblings
my brothers,
are over there.
All my brothers there, my sister there, and I talk to my sister every week at least. My brothers maybe every 2 weeks, but my sister's the head of family now. Yeah, and I talk to my nieces and nephews. It's great. I mean, it's great to be here at this time, and I'm very fortunate. You know, I'm a teacher. I got a nice job. I get the summer off, so I can travel. And,
right.
I love traveling. I love meeting people.
And you said you get back. Usually, you go back once a year at least.
Yeah, I usually go back in July every year. Usually leave right after 4th of July. And so that's, this year I'll be leaving maybe before the 4th of July. My niece is getting married. So I'll go back for the wedding.
What is, talk a little bit about growing up in Ireland. I don't know if people actually know what Ireland is like.
Yeah, I know when I grew up, I was going back 30 or 40, 50 years probably ago, when I grew up in a terrace street when the houses were joined together. Our bathroom was outside. I'm sure people had that here too. Outdoor bathroom, and you just, you played at night until the lights came on. You're back home, and your mother and father were everything, and your next door neighbors were sort of like your aunts and uncles.
There was a strong sense of family, though.
Yeah, and if you did anything, you could go to your neighbors, or if you did anything wrong, your neighbor would be the first one to tell on you. And so you had to watch everyone. But yeah, I think it's, growing up, and of course, being an Irish Catholic, our church was so important to us. Church, Sunday Mass, you went to church, and they had a retreat on every year where if you didn't go to church, you didn't go outside your house. You'd stay inside because everybody went. And we St. Patrick's Day, big holy day for us, really, where we went to church in the morning. We wore shamrocks, and and then just play around and like everyone play around and enjoy the company of what you had. I mean, I know Ireland, our troubles changed a little bit, where it got a little bit more difficult to live with. When I was like 13, 14, it changed a lot, but it still had your community where people looked after each other. And again, we looked up to America a lot. We always knew what was going on in America. I mean, JFK, when he died, it was a big thing in Ireland. Everybody knew, it was on TV. So there's a tight connection between the two countries still. I think I'm a history teacher, so I know that out of the presidents, I think 21 of them had links to Ireland.
You told me some numbers in my office before.
Yeah.
It was actually interesting, the numbers that you were telling me.
And in Ireland, the population today is 6 million. There's 35 point something million have claim Irish descent in the United States. So we're spread around a lot.
Right, yeah.
And we go back to the famine, of course.
Yeah, talk a little bit about when the Irish did come to America, and why did they come to America?
So and the famine was like 1845 to 1850s around that time, and then we call it now the Great Hunger because we trying.
And I didn't know that. I mean, I've always known it as the famine, but that wasn't necessarily the case.
No, because when we researched, when it was the Great Hunger, because there was no shortage of food. The food was exported to England all the time, and they were shipping out like cattle and livestock, meat, dairy products would be exported out where people were dying on the street. So 1 million died during that time, and 1 million left. So our population went with 25% of the population left. We've never caught up. And if you look at it, they say it's affected Irish people's height, because our height has gone down a lot because of that, because of famine, you have hunger and the genes and that. So it's changed Ireland. And if you go around Ireland, you can go to a famine village, you can look at them and see what happened. And there are a lot of stories about it now, about how these lords that owned the land would not feed the Irish people. And so a lot of people came to this country around that age in the late 1800s. Mm-hmm. And you see in the United States today, there are many people with an Irish background. We have all the latest few presidents have been to Ireland. Of course, they all go back and visit Ireland.
And like a lot of immigrants coming in, especially at that time, I mean, it wasn't easy.
No, and you look back, and when people came to Boston, there were signs in the window saying no Irish need apply.
Right.
Because they didn't want them in Ireland and coming here and taking jobs. They were treated like the worst of the worst. So it was difficult to come here in the beginning, and you see when the railroads were being built, and the expansion, the westward expansion, Irish people were involved in that, and then they end up, you see a lot of policemen were Irish, the unions, so they come up in the society now till, like today they've worked their way up, and there's a lot of firemen, Irish people, mm-hmm. policemen, so they worked hard, but they started off with nothing, and I think it's part of it why they work hard.
It took a while too. It wasn't something that just, a couple of years. It took a while.
Yeah, it took a while to be accepted by people here at the beginning, and because they were treated horribly at times, and now they worked hard. And they hung in there. They had no choice. They had no money to go back home. And they would send letters home, or they'd send money home, and before they left there, and they would have an Irish wake. Well, the son would be leaving to go come to the United States, and that's. So the family back home, they were happy to have someone maybe give them a fresh start. Mm-hmm. And so.
Was it a lot of young people that came?
Yeah.
Or were they older people?
I think mostly young and middle aged would be coming because they needed to be strong and be able to work when they came here.
Just looking for another
opportunity. Just it was a way out, and I when I talk to even kids in school all the time, there are a lot of immigrants in New Bedford. As your family came here, they give up everything to get a better life for you. So it's really important that you do your best, and to give back what they sacrifice. I think that was Irish people, the same thing. They give up.
And that's and in your position, because you see it with the different kids that have been coming through your classes for years. I mean, you see that whatever culture it is, those kids, it's the same story. The people coming for a better chance. And you're right, the kids do have, for lack of a better word, an obligation to try hard. And
I remind them of it all the time. I say, you don't realize what they give up. They're coming back here, and I came here, I spoke English, of course. I do speak Irish, but I could speak English. You see these people coming here today now that don't speak English, and they're sitting in a classroom, and after 3 or 4 years, they're able to evolve into the community. And I think sometimes you have to clap your hands for these people, how much they do. And I say your parents did so much, not just the Irish people come back, but right up till today, these people are still coming. And they give up everything, they have a better life for their kids. And that's what Irish people did. Sometimes a better life for themselves at that time.
Right.
Now, today you see a lot of people come here to get a better life for their kids.
You're from Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And where Derry is. And I guess, why don't you tell folks too, I mean, there's a difference between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Yeah, so in Ireland, there's 32 countries in Ireland. Six when the British in 1921 they wanted to separate them, they put 6 counties in Northern Ireland under British rule, and so I'm under British rule where I live. So I can drive 4 miles down the road, and I'm in Southern Ireland, which is under the euro. They're in the common market, a different currency, and it was difficult growing up when I'm a nationalist. I'm a Roman Catholic, but a nationalist. You grew up in a pro-British area, where it was like the same thing, where you had no jobs, no housing. You were harassed because of your religion. And again, I think when somebody puts you down for anything, it makes you stronger. It made me a better Catholic. If somebody call me names.
And the interesting thing, that seems to have translated to here too, because Catholicism wasn't.
Yeah.
President Kennedy was criticized as he was campaigning because he was going to be the first Catholic president.
And Joe Biden's the second.
Exactly.
So it's difficult to have good. So I think people are. I know because the Pope. We call the Pope. The Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church. They thought he was going to tell Kennedy what to do.
Right.
Or tell Biden what to do. Of course, it's not true. But I think it's difficult when you have two sides anywhere, and sometimes the United States, we're not all on the same page sometimes. But I think people don't realize how many rights we have in this country that we don't have anywhere else. And I come in and I teach the Bill of Rights. Of course, I teach that. When in the 8th grade is now government and civics, which is great, because kids don't know it, and we don't realize how much this country has, what you have compared to other countries. I see a difference when I was in Ireland. Now living here, where I can do certain things that I couldn't do over there, where the police had certain powers, with Special Powers Acts, where I lived. They could put you in jail with no trial, leave you there for years.
Wow.
Here, the policeman can't even stop you without having some reason. So it's different, and Ireland has come a long way. My city's come a long way from a city that was bombed a lot.
Derry.
Derry.
Yeah.
So it was bombed.
How big is Derry?
Derry's about 120,000 people.
So not that much bigger than New Bedford.
Yeah. So I remember years ago we had the mayor of New Bedford, Fred Kalis, went back with me once, and we did sign some sort of an agreement. It wasn't actually a sister city. It was something similar, because I thought with Derry being so devastated and they built it up, that we could learn from it in New Bedford, because we're on the water. Both cities are on the water.
Yep.
Derry was a big port for World War II. 18 German submarines surrendered in Derry. It's one of the biggest.
Really? Okay.
The American naval base in Derry for years. So a lot of American people were there. So it's very similar to New Bedford. I mean, we're a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger.
It's always fascinating because I mean, how much New Bedford there is a strong connection in New Bedford just with Ireland. I mean, the Friendly Sons is such an important organization in the city, but the city does have a good relationship, it seems, with Irish heritage.
Yeah, I think, and people in New Bedford tend to hold on to Irish heritage and stay together. And I know the Friendly Sons are going now, I think they're going 80 years this year.
Is it really?
I think it's the 80th year this year. So they've been going on a long time, and they've kept together. And again, they do a lot of things for the community, which is great. I mean, they're not the only organization in the city.
No,
So many of them do so much for the community. We do our Thanksgiving turkey drive. We're giving 700 turkeys out, plus the fixings to people. It's never enough.
But that's the thing too, as you're talking about, as you said, there's the organizations. I mean, you've got the Portuguese, the Cape Verdeans, the Irish, the I mean, there's Polish. There's just, and I'm excluding some, obviously, but there's a heritage culture means a lot in this city, and obviously the Friendly Sons, the Irish, are just one of those many cultures that make New Bedford what it is.
All right, and we do work with the Prince Henry Society and different things. Where they're involved in a lot of community work, and again, there's the Polish people, the French people. It's just, this city is, I mean, I love New Bedford. I think it's a great city to live in, to work in, to go to school in. I think it's got everything. I mean, we don't realize how good it is until you're not here. I mean, if people come to I have friends who come to New Bedford from all over the world and come, and they cannot believe how beautiful the city is. Downtown is the cobbled streets. We have the stories of the Catalpa. I've never heard of the Catalpa, which is a ship that sailed all the way to Australia and rescued Irishmen from a prison. It's world famous, but nobody in the city knows that story. You know, a Quaker Captain Anthony, took a ship 1,000 miles to come over, and New Bedford is beautiful. I mean, again, my city's beautiful too, but I don't see it until I'm not there. Right. I think people that live in New Bedford don't see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, most people don't know what it's until you're gone. You don't see it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I even talk to kids on that school. I don't have many kids. I've never been downtown. I've never been to Wingham Museum. They've never seen downtown, and it's.
What do you tell kids about? I mean, obviously your perspective is so unique. What do you tell kids about Ireland? I mean, obviously you can just gloss over it really because there's so much that you know in the curriculum that you have to teach. But your perspective about Ireland, I mean, I would imagine kids have a lot of questions for you about growing up or the community and what have you.
I think some they ask me always, why'd you come here? No, why'd you choose New Bedford? And I said, well, because when I had the choice of 10 or 12 different places, New Bedford seemed the right size for me, like community for me that I wanted to come to. And I tell everybody, if I had the choice today, that I had 30 years ago, I'd still come to New Bedford. And kids are always saying, well, why would you pick New Bedford? I told you, people live here don't see it sometimes for what it is, and kids don't see it because they're not downtown. They don't see this cobblestone streets. They don't see this the port we have, and you know it's tough, you know, because we have to get more of a community in our schools. Not even in our schools, but our kids need to be part of our city, and some they don't feel like that. Mm-hmm. They think I hate people saying you're our future to our kids. They're not. They're here. No, they're here today, and that sometimes we brush over them and say, well, you're our future, and in 10 years you'll make into the decisions. But they have an opinion today, you know, and we have to listen to them, and we don't. You know,
what is it, when you look at Ireland now, what are the similarities between, say, Derry and New Bedford now with economically and that sort of thing? I mean, obviously the wind farm that seems to be big in Europe and over there, and obviously New Bedford's trying to implement that here.
I think the wind farm is one. You see a lot of wind farms in there, but in the city itself, you see a lot of old. In Derry, you see a lot of textile mills. A lot
still?
Of them. Yeah, and they're there, and most of them, like here, they turn them into apartments. Mm-hmm. Derry is a big shirt factory. They make a lot of shirts, and we have a lot of people from Manchester came over here, and we had the mills here. So you see those sort of buildings in both cities.
Okay.
We're both on the water. We have a docks, which is pretty big.
Is the fishing industry big there?
Fishing would be a little bit outside Derry. Derry's not a fishing port.
Okay.
Wouldn't be very big, but if you go up a little bit further, Derry's more like huge docks where I told you the biggest ships in the British Navy or the American Navy could dock there. Okay. So it was a massive port, and so all the submarines that surrendered there during World War II. But if you look at it, there's a hill coming down. There's like Shipley Street. Derry was Shipley Street. Here it's Union Street. Very similar, going down right to the water.
To the water. And is the tourism industry, or is that big like here?
It's huge, yeah. So Derry has maybe a lot more hotels than New Bedford. New Bedford has maybe, I'm guessing 4, mm-hmm. and Derry would have maybe 12 more, and you cannot get into any of these hotels in the summer. So I think a tourism here we need to branch out a little bit with our tourism.
Well, you look at downtown expanding with the restaurants.
Yeah. I mean, downtown is. I bring people here and they go downtown. They can't believe how beautiful it is. We have to really push that more. I think Derry has got a grasp of tourism better than us because they have all these festivals on all the time, non-stop festivals. They had the European City of the Year. They have a Halloween party in Derry is the biggest in the world.
You're obviously in education here as you're a long-time teacher. Is education similar over there?
I think it's different, of course, because there are no middle schools where I teach a middle school. There are no such thing as a middle school.
Really?
Yeah. So, and most of the schools where I live would be boy or girl.
Oh, so it's separated?
It's separated.
Wow, okay.
And there's one time I visited a school there, a girls' school, and I met with the principal. I said, because they wear uniforms too. Okay. They're all wearing uniforms. And I said, the principal, it's a girls' school. I asked the girls, you don't miss the boys? I said, no, we'll see them later. I don't miss them being in school. And the uniforms, I asked them about the uniforms. The principals one time, the school was doing so well in their tests. They said to the girls, right, on Friday, no uniform day.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened? They all were late because they couldn't figure out what to wear. So they only did it once, so they couldn't figure out. And uniforms, they knew what they put on in the morning, but it's similar, except high school would be 6 years.
Really?
Because
Wow.
there's no middle school.
No middle school, so it's, yeah.
And they're
In colleges, obviously, there's higher education over
yeah,
there.
the colleges are a lot cheaper than here. I know they're not paying 30, 40, 50, 60,000 to go to
Right.
college there. It's a little bit different there. The education is a little bit different, but they have all the opportunity to go to college, and they'll take their tests, which is just different names here. I think they rank you in your tests what college you get into. Something you have SATs here, or something similar.
Are they private schools over there, or is it public colleges?
Yeah, there's both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people I see here that go to college can take a semester in Ireland. They go to Dublin or
Yes.
Galway.
Yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
of schools have that semester.
And my city's got a University of Ulster in my city, like we have UMass Dartmouth right here. So it's similar in that. I think it's so education's similar. I mean, they're working hard there, and again, this last 3 years have been very tough on them.
It's interesting because when you think of Ireland, you think of the Irish pubs, and the one saying from people I know who've been there and don't miss when it's your turn to buy. When it's your turn for the round.
That's right.
Don't forget to buy your round.
So I owned a pub in Ireland before I came here. So they would say, is your hand stuck in your pocket? Whatever.
But I mean, the pub is such a community place, right? Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah. So it's like, so if you were going out to the theater, you'd meet in the pub. Maybe we'll meet in the pub at 7. We'll have one beer and we'll go to the theater. We'll come back to the pub later on. Or you in the pub to drink, and you're 21 or it's 18 there, so you're 18, and you're in there, and your uncles, aunts are everywhere are sitting around the bar, so you're not going to misbehave. But it's just the pub is more like a social gathering for you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things I missed here, because you go out to bars, not to go out to have a lot of drink, maybe like 1 or 2 beer, but you're sitting with all your friends.
Well, they seem to be more, at least my perception, I've never been there, but my understanding is from family and what have you, and people like you, is it seems to be there's the neighborhood pub, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which you don't see a lot here.
No, and again, so my pub that I owned was a neighborhood pub, and people from all around the area would come and drink there, and it was, you knew everyone in the pub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Knew everybody, and that song where everybody knows your name.
Yeah,
it's actually did in Ireland. So a lot of there's pubs that are similar to what we have here, but a lot of neighborhood pubs are still there. And if you go to Ireland, that's the ones you should go to, because the neighborhood pub, you sit in the corner, there might be a fire there, and people are just chatting and talking, and maybe some little sing song. And the pubs are a little bit different, because a lot of pubs here are restaurants.
Right.
Where they're not.
And they're not there.
No, those pubs would just be for going for a beer.
Right.
And again, connecting with your friends. And it is good. I mean, it's a good way to be. You're not going to the pub to get drunk and singing and go out drunk, but it's.
But on the other side too, I mean, you're able to make a living if you work there or own that. I mean, because you've got your clientele coming in.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that, like you said, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, and you say that the same people coming in, and you say, I always say in a bar when I go to a pub, was like there's 3 different stages. Either people going at 12 o'clock morning or afternoon, just early afternoon, and the people coming at 4 and they're at 6 or 7, and the people come at 8 and they're ready to close. It's like 3 different groups, and it's the same people every day. They're sitting in the same seats. You don't walk in the pub, just make sure you don't take someone's seat, because they're sitting there. And I did take someone over a few years ago into this bar, and they sat down in someone's seat. Well, they told them, get up. And they didn't say it. They might have used a few choice words there to get them up. But it was fun. They were with me. But I still go to the bar I own still.
Yeah.
And my friends are still there. So I go over. My first night, when I get there, I'll go to that bar that night, and everybody's there that I know.
I have to ask you about corned beef and cabbage. Why? Why is that so popular?
I never heard of it, to be honest, until I came here. So I never tasted. No, I never tasted corned beef and cabbage until I came here. Corned beef would be in a can like Spam.
Yeah, really, yeah.
So you buy it if you have no money. But no, I never heard of it. So and I eat it once a year. Let's find out. Actually, this weekend we have a dinner at the Century House. Yeah, so it's not. I think it's something that it's an Irish American dish. And I'm not saying you won't get it in Ireland, but it's very difficult to get that in Ireland.
So how is St. Patrick's Day in Ireland different than, first of all, what is St. Patrick's Day, and why is it different between America and Ireland, or how is it different?
So St. Patrick's was a patron saint of Ireland. He brought Christianity to Ireland. He was a slave. They took him from Scotland, I think, and brought him over. And there's a rumor that he drove out all the snakes in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Of course, because the snake was a sign of the devil. There is no snakes in Ireland, unless you go to a zoo and see them. So St. Patrick's Day is a very big day for people. You get up in the morning, you're going to go to church, you wear your shamrocks in your lapel, and you'll celebrate, and there's parades on. Everybody's just, it's a holiday, of course. You're hanging around, and of course the men will go into the bar with the shamrocks, and you say when they go in, the shamrocks are standing up straight. By the time they come out of the bar, they're
right, exactly.
We say you drowned your shamrocks, because they're drowned by the time they come out. So it's a big day, and people think that Irish people drink a lot, but a lot of people in Ireland don't drink. You know, we have a pioneer thing. It's called a pioneer pin, which is something you wear in your lapel. We'll say you're never going to drink. So you can go in the bar, have a soda, it's not. We're not as big as drinkers as people say.
I was going to say the stereotype is totally opposite.
Yeah. You know, I'm not a big drinker, and people I hang with are not really. You know, and don't say you don't see them. You see them everywhere. But I think it's St. Patrick's Day is more of our celebrating our culture, you know, our Christianity coming to Ireland, and St. Patrick himself, and what you know. But
it's definitely different here, though.
Well, here it's because everybody's involved here. So you're looking at everybody wants to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day, and they all want and corned beef and cabbage is nice. I love the cabbage. I don't mind corned beef, and it's just it's a time to celebrate too and have fun. And same with Irish bars here. If you put an Irish bar, they put a name on it, people think it's fun. They're going to have a good time. They go to an Irish bar, which is true. Most of them are like that. But corned beef,
I used to have it. I mean, my grandmother used to make it. We used to go up every. Well, it might not be St. Patrick's Day because we always went up on Sunday. So the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day, if it wasn't on that day, we would get together and have the corned beef. So I got used to it.
My first 10 years here, I worked at Muldoon's Saloon in Phillips Road, and I cooked corned beef. I worked there for 10 years. Jerry Houston had it then. And it was the biggest day they had in the year. You were waiting in line to get in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind corned beef. It just wasn't something I'd heard of. I think here it was like when they corn the beef, like salt and meat, and so it would keep.
It's very plain, yeah.
Yeah.
Very plain. So.
But I mean, people love it. I don't mind it. I mean, I'm not saying but I probably will eat it on Saturday, and I probably not eat it till next year.
Next year. Thanks for coming in today. It was great talking to you, and great stuff. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. I love talking about New Bedford and my hometown Derry.
He is Chris Donnelly. I am Jim Marshall. My thanks to him for coming in, and thanks for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.